let's talk about your E46.
Sounds good. Yeah.
What's left of it?
Yeah. There's been some modest changes, I would say.
Modest.
Yeah. So this car began life as a street car, actually. A buddy of mine bought it. It's a 2002 E46 M3, and he actually had some grand plans to turn it into a drift car. And he got, kind of started and realized it was more work than I think he had anticipated. It was a really clean shell, clean title. He had cut up the tranny tunnel because he was going to put an LS in it, and then changed his mind. So when I was looking to build a new race car a couple years back, I ended up picking up the shell from him. So we ended up, fixing the trans tunnel and kind of making it all nice again. And this car raced at the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill in 2022. So we built this car originally for endurance racing. So it was a sprint car and an endurance car. So completely different strategy or concept, right? The thought behind building it was that it needed to survive 25 hours. So we took it down to bare chassis. We built an FIA spec cage, and then started putting it together for enduros. It had an S54 engine. It had a 5-speed ZF gearbox, and yeah, we had a great time running it in 22 at the 25. We ended up finishing 3rd on the podium in our class behind the 2 factory Honda cars, and 9th overall, so pretty good for a first time, yeah.
What is the body kit, or what is this? It reminds me of a very famous E46.
Yeah, the Need for Speed one, or the ones that they run in Europe, the GTR ones?
Yeah, the GTR, I think. The livery specifically reminds me of the GTR, right? That iconic black and red Yokohama livery.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not that. It's maybe a little bit of inspiration from that.
A little bit of inspiration, yeah. So when I decided that we were gonna take this car to Pikes Peak, we kind of had to undo a lot of what we had done when this was a wheel-to-wheel race car. And so what ended up happening was we kind of took it back down to a shell again. And for enduros, you want the car to be tough. So it had a ton of OEM metal panels on it, right? We had, metal doors, right? Metal fenders, even metal trunk. Well, for hill climb or time attack, as you know, weight is key. So the goal was, how can we get as much weight out of the car as possible? So the kit that you were asking about is built by Flossmann Motorsport over in Germany, and it is a full carbon kit. So it's the fenders, the side skirts and sills, the rear quarter panels, the rear bumper, the doors, the roof, the trunk, and the hood, and then of course the splitter and the canards and all of that stuff. So
all of that is made by them?
All of that is made by Flossmann.
What about the bumper?
In Germany. The bumper is carbon as well, and it's Flossmann, so it's much wider. Like an OEM E46 bumper would stop here. This bumper goes all the way out to here to match the fenders.
Is this like a one-piece setup here? Or? It almost looks like it's seamless.
Yeah, it does. It actually tucks over the splitter. So it's designed to work in tandem. So the splitter is also made by Flossmann. It's carbon. It's chassis mounted.
What the hell is this?
This is really cool, actually, because when I was talking to Dominic Flossmann about doing Pikes Peak, he said, hey, nobody's run this body kit at Pikes Peak before. As you said, a lot of European BMW GT cars will run this body kit for GT racing. And so he said, hey, you need downforce, the air is thin. He's like, I was inspired by the Ken Block electric unicorn that you shot, Larry, which had a wing that was similar to this on the front of that Audi. And he was like, hey, are you allowed to run it for rules? And I was like, yeah, we're in Unlimited, we can do whatever we want. So he's like, I'll make you a one-off and let's try it.
That is so cute. I mean, it's like a wing on a wing.
Yeah, it's a little winglet, yeah.
That is so,
yeah.
It is so cool looking, but I'm assuming it's very functional.
It is functional. We've tested it at Sonoma, so I have another splitter that doesn't have it, and we ran that splitter versus this splitter, and we have shock potentiometers on the car, so we're able to see how much aero load is created, and it does work, yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So then, did they put this through CFD or wind tunnel, or how did they figure out this aero? Like, how did they figure this would all work?
Yeah, great question. So Flossmann got their inspiration originally from the BMW, factory race car, right? The GTR that they used to campaign. But then they did both CFD and wind tunnel testing in Germany. And so we have a good idea of how much downforce it makes, front and rear combined.
This area is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is going on here? So this is part of their kit too.
This is part of their kit, yeah. So this is their fender.
It almost looked like it's like not attached. It's like floating almost.
Yeah, so it is mounted on there. And normally for a lot of race cars, what they end up doing is they end up doing a fiberglass and they mold it to the body. Again, I wanted to save as much weight as we could, and so we decided not to do that, right? So, the purpose really is to cover the top of the tire, and then obviously this is vented, right, to release that high pressure. Right?
I've never seen a rear bumper that does that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
What an interesting, it's like, it just like turns in. Huh.
Yeah.
Very interesting design element.
Yeah, these canards are really cool. It reminds me of, the older like DTM cars that they used to race in Europe. Yeah, It looks like a spaceship.
So why is the exhaust tilted that way?
Oh, that's a really good question. If we bring it over to you, I'll show you, because we took it off for tech, but the car has a really big rear diffuser.
Oh.
And so the rear diffuser comes out to about here. And so the reason the muffler is as far out as it is one, I didn't want to melt the carbon bumper, right? But the other thing, the reason why it's tilted at an angle is I wanted to point the exhaust gas away from the diffuser as well, right? So that one, it wouldn't melt it, and two, again, just kind of, getting rid of it essentially. Yeah.
Got it. Huge APR wing.
Yeah, this is their GT1000. It's the biggest wing that they make. It's 78 inches.
It's huge.
Dual element, yeah, and we chassis mounted it to the car. So we actually, we 3D printed prototype chassis mount stands, and once we knew that they worked, they go down into the body, right? Once we knew that they worked, we have them CNC'd, so.
Looks great. Can we take a look at the engine bay?
Yeah, of course. Let's pop the hood for you.
Real quick, Stop Tech brakes. And Titan 7 wheels.
Yeah, so we run the Stop Tech competition brakes. So these are the C43 competition brakes, front and rear. So it's the same caliper front and rear, but the difference is the rears have a smaller piston diameter, so we get good, brake balance that way. And we're able to retain an ABS system. And on this car, we have a Bosch Motorsport ABS.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see a car that's this developed. Really, like it's awesome.
Thanks,
it's
man.
incredible.
Yeah,
but then still running BMW powered.
Yeah, it's been a labor of love, but yeah, I'm a big fan of the S54 engine that BMW makes, and
What the
this
hell
is different.
Going on here?
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like that. What is this for?
Yeah.
Or is this a supercharger?
This is a supercharger, yeah. So there's a Rotrex C32 blower hiding under this box. So yeah, it's a Rotrex blower unit. Active Auto Work over in Florida, they make the kit that normally would work for an S54, but when we started talking together and working together and they realized we were doing Pikes Peak, we said, look, off the shelf isn't going to work. So this is a fully custom setup that they developed over there and talking to us about what we wanted to do. And then we had to do also a lot of kind of tweaking and fine tuning once we got it.
So then this is the intake?
Yeah. So there's
through the headlight?
Through the headlight, into the box, into the supercharger.
Well, why the box?
Oh, instead of just feeding it directly in there. We have the box enclosure because the supercharger itself has like a really big filter on the end of it, and so it's like a filter box basically.
Got it.
Yeah,
got it.
Exactly.
Okay. Like I understand that one of the problems with running a supercharger is heat soak. They, like all the custom stuff they've done is to pretty much prevent that.
To minimize it as much as possible, yeah. So we've done also a lot of, you see it on the exhaust manifold as well as under the box. We've done a lot of shielding using Inconel to try and manage the temperatures that way. And we've been pretty happy with what we're seeing. When I test the car, at our home track in Sonoma in California, we're only seeing like maybe plus 30 or 40 degrees over what ambient is in terms of the intake air temps.
And then you have like this weird V setup.
Yeah, so for Pikes Peak, as you know, with the high altitude and the thin air, you need to really think about cooling for the car. And so we've E-mounted the radiator and the intercooler to be able to maximize airflow for both things, right? Normally one ends up blocking the other, right?
So then where does the radiator air go?
So the radiator air is directed at an angle like this, and it exits kind of down and through the back. So kind of like, you know how some race cars you see, they have kind of like a step splitter to be able to push air through the bottom of the car and out the back, right, to create downforce. The idea was the same, that it exits down the back, because we tried to make it as flat as possible, basically.
Got it. And then this, since it's not double stacked, it gets the freshest air possible.
Freshest air, and then out the hood, right? Vented out the hood, again, to help aid in some downforce. Yeah, exactly.
That is really neat. Okay, so then what is this dyno at sea level then?
So at sea level, we make very modest power with it. You know, given that it's my first year at Pikes Peak, I was thinking, look, I'm not going to build a 1,000 horsepower thing and then just go see what happens, right? With all the years of me racing wheel to wheel, I want to be able to just like use what I have and use it well. So it makes 535 at the wheels, at sea level, about 380 foot-pounds of torque. So definitely not making as much on the mountain, but you know, I'm very comfortable in it, which I think is really important.
That's great, because with this much grip and aero, I mean, you should be pretty planted quite a bit on the mountain.
Yeah, we did the first test weekend 2 weeks ago, and I feel like I was very comfortable very quickly. I've been asked by a lot of people, you know, how I've been preparing for this as a rookie, and I've spent the last 15 months driving the mountain 4 to 5 runs a day, and it was like my homework assignment every day. So ton of time on the sim, which meant that 2 weeks ago when we came here for the first time and I got to drive the mountain at speed, it really clicked for me. I was really comfortable. I ran a pretty good time. I think I was chatting with some of the Evasive guys who ran last year, and I think their qualifying time in the lower section compared to what I ran on Sunday at the test, I was only 3 seconds behind their S2000 with die driving it.
That's great.
I would say not too bad.
Yeah, that's really
not too
good.
Bad. Yeah.
For a rookie. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Does this make you think what this would be like as a time attack car at some of the local tracks that you drive in Southern California, or Northern California?
Yeah. I think that's the plan. So while we built the car for Pikes Peak, you know, we did say as a team, hey, once we're done at the mountain, let's go take it to some things. So this thing's going to go to Grid Life Laguna Festival. It'll run Time Attack there. And then it's also going to go to Global Time Attack Finals at Buttonwillow later in the year as well.
That's great.
We'll see what it can do.
So a couple more things. Let's talk about the suspension.
Yeah. So I think the thing that you'll probably notice with the dampers on the car is that sticking out of the shock itself, there's no knob, right? Most cars are probably used to seeing an adjustment knob there. There isn't one because these are JRZ's new proactive dampers. So this is an active suspension setup, and it's really cool. It's really, really cool. So they are 4-way motorsport dampers, and then they're electronically controlled by a JRZ proprietary control box. It's in the center of the car, and it's really neat because a lot of people who have driven cars with active suspension, for example, like a Porsche GT3, right? That has Porsche's PASM system. PASM is, at the end of the day, it's a Bosch unit, right? And so how that unit works is electronically at a speed of 30 hertz or 30 times a second, the damper is able to adjust itself, right? Based on what the computer is saying and what the sensors are telling the computer box. The JRZ system is 4 times faster. It runs at 120 hertz. So it means that if you watch any of my testing videos, the car is very planted, even though, again, everyone knows Pikes Peak is very bumpy, right? So the shocks are constantly adjusting the damping force. From actually my steering wheel, I can control how much pitch and dive, how much roll the car has, as well as the stiffness in terms of the front and the rear, and I can adjust those independently.
So then, how do you even have the brain power to do all this stuff while you're driving? You're so busy already in there.
Yeah, so the beauty of the system is that I don't. So during testing, I can play around with the settings and we're trying things and we're data logging, right? But when we actually run the mountain on race day on Sunday, we're gonna have it programmed and it'll essentially do the adjustments for me. So the box has the ability to receive GPS signal. So based on where I am on the mountain, it can run a different setup, right? So as you know, the lower section of the mountain is most closest to a road course, right? It's high speed, it's technical, but the road is fairly smooth. There's a lot of good banking that you can use. Once you get to the middle section of the mountain where the W's are, right, it's a lot of tight hairpins, so you have to get the car slowed down, you have to get the car a good exit, right? So you need more of that mechanical grip, that like squat, right, to get that rocket out of the exits. And then at the top of the mountain, it's kind of like the Baja or something like that, right? You're skipping across the surface. So again, you want to soften the dampers as much as possible. So we have the ability to do that with one set of shocks, right, which is really cool.
In terms of race car builds, this is so clean.
Thank you. Yeah. It helps when you have a game plan, right? So given that we started with a blank slate, we were really thoughtful about all the things that we wanted to do. So, you know, we took out obviously the factory harness, and we built our own, you know, mil-spec motorsport grade harness. So we actually have 3 sections. There's a central chassis harness, there's an engine harness, and then there's a rear section harness, and they're all connected by a single bulkhead connector, which is really nice, right? No crazy wires all over the place and that kind of stuff. Another reason why everything looks really clean is we run an AIM PDM setup, so you'll see that over in the corner. It's a 32-channel PDM, which, you know, eliminates the needs for fuses and a fuse box and all that stuff, which is also really cool. And then I have a huge screen up here. It's a 10-inch display, which is really nice because, you know, again, I'm monitoring a lot of different information while I'm driving, and so it's good to have it on one page versus, you know, sometimes on the smaller dashes you need to cycle, right, to look at stuff.
How's it to run oxygen while you're driving?
So it's my first time trying it, right? And so, you know, one of the things that I've been doing to prep is for the last, you know, year and a half, I've been getting fit. And so you haven't seen me in a while. I probably look a little bit thinner than you, right? So
you're about to disappear, honestly.
No, not quite. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of weight training, cardio, just eating better and wanting to be fit because I've heard lots of stories about how the altitude affects you. So I was pleasantly surprised that I think that paid off, because on Saturday I did all the practice sessions with no oxygen just to see how I felt, and I felt fine. And then on Sunday we decided to run it to see if, you know, I would get any performance gains, or again, it's like, since we have it, we may as well use it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, if Pikes Peak is the reason to get fit, that's not a bad reason. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's great.
Exactly.
And then you have your whole AIM set up for your video feed and data logging.
Yep.
All that. AccuSump in the back.
Yep. Got a helmet blower so I can have some fresh air, right? Because this is the first time I've driven a car with fully enclosed in the sense of Lexan windows, right? I'm used to normally just having a window net and I get a breeze, but it gets quite toasty in here, right, with the Lexan windows. Fortunately, it's only like a 12-minute run or something like that, but it's still nice to have some fresh air.
Yeah. Really neat. So then what's this transmission setup here? Yeah,
so this is a Drenth sequential. They are an awesome company based in the Netherlands. They build really amazing racing gearboxes. A lot of their customers are touring and GT car racers and teams over in Europe. So I'm running a really cool setup. It's a compact, lightweight, 6-speed sequential, but it can handle up to, you know, 500 foot-pounds of torque. So we're nowhere near the limits of this gearbox. And the shifts are lightning quick. It's an awesome setup in that it works really well with the ECU that we have that's controlling the auto blip downshifts and the flat upshifts. So, you know, once I get going, I'm only using the clutch to get rolling, and once I'm off the line, I'm, you know, just doing gas and brake, and then the gearbox is magic. So
what a great build. I love it. It's so clean with this carbon dash. It's just really nice. What is this finish? Is this Steelite or?
It is Steelite. Yeah, great eye, man. Yeah. We thought about, you know, I've done powder coat on old other race cars in the past, but we were like, hey, Steelite is great because if we ever decided we need to weld something different or change something, you know, you can weld over Steelite, right? Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Well, good luck.
Thanks, man.
It's so cool to see you out here. Been photographing you for so many years, you know, doing time attack or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Larry.
It's such a nice car. I mean, it's very cleanly built. It doesn't seem like it was a rushed build?
No, yeah, we took our time. You know, at the end of 22, when I decided I wanted to do this, I didn't say, hey, we're going to do Pikes Peak in 23. I said, let's take a year and a half and really thoughtfully prepare myself, right? Prepare the car and our team too, right? Again, we've never done something like this, right? We've done a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing, but the mountain is special and has its own challenges. So I am really appreciative to all the veterans who I've spoken to. I feel like I've picked a million people's brains right at this point, and also just the organizers. They've made me feel very welcome.
I think that's really a big difference between Pikes Peak and a lot of other organizations, because of the fact that everybody wants to see everybody get to the top.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's just really cool to see new faces. Yeah. It's always good to have. We have 22 rookies, I think, this year.
Yeah.
It's a lot of rookies.
It is.
And it's great because it's fresh people that, who knows, maybe a couple years later down the line, you know, they'll step up their effort or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see you out here. Thank you so much for walking us through your beautiful E46 BMW build.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see you on the mountain.
All right. Thanks so much, Larry.
All right.